Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's update on Tropical Storm Lee. So, Tropical Storm Lee continues to quickly intensify, and as of 5 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, Wednesday, September the 6th, Tropical Storm Lee has maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 997 millibars, and west-northwesterly movement at 14 miles per hour. Looking at the latest National Hurricane Center's cone for Tropical Storm Lee, Lee is expected to become a hurricane this afternoon and become a major hurricane by early Friday morning and approach just to the north of areas like Anguilla, St. Martin, and Antigua-Barbuda, the U.S. British Virgin Islands, by early Sunday morning through early Monday morning as a major hurricane. So looking at the Zoom Earth interactive satellite imagery and cone for Tropical Storm Lee, Tropical Storm Lee is already looking like a hurricane on satellite with a pinwheel spiral shape to the storm. We got the clouds fanning out on the western half of the storm, and we already have a core of convection beginning to develop toward the end of the frame. So Tropical Storm Lee is already looking like a hurricane on visible satellite. And looking at the interactive cone by this afternoon, 1 p.m. Central American Time, Lee is expected to intensify to a Category 1 hurricane by Thursday, 1 a.m. Central Time, a 90-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane moving to the west-northwest. Thursday, 1 p.m. Central Time, a 105-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane moving to the west-northwest. By Friday, 1 a.m. Central Time, a 120-mile-per-hour Category 3 major hurricane moving to the west-northwest. Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time, a 140-mile-per-hour Category 4 major hurricane moving to the west-northwest. Saturday, 1 a.m. Central Time, 150-mile-per-hour Category 4 major hurricane moving to the northwest. Sunday, 1 a.m. Central Time, 150-mile-per-hour Category 4 major hurricane about 200 miles north of Anguilla, and then by Monday morning, a 150-mile-per-hour Category 4 hurricane about 300 miles north of Puerto Rico. So the southwestern end of the cone is still dangerously close to areas like Antigua-Barbuda, Anguilla, the U.S. British Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Make sure you're keeping a close watch on Lee if you live in these islands. Now looking at the probabilities of tropical storm force winds, the National Hurricane Center is already giving out tropical storm force wind speed probabilities, and in areas like Anguilla and the Northern British Virgin Islands, we already have a 30 to 40% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds from Lee, and then areas like St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua-Barbuda, 20 to 30% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, and then Puerto Rico, down through the U.S. Virgin Islands, down through Guadeloupe even, a 10 to 20% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds from Lee. So despite Lee passing a couple hundred miles to the northeast, tropical storm force winds are already possible 5 days out in the Northern Lesser Antilles, Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Now, looking at the latest spaghetti model guidance for Tropical Storm Lee, thankfully the models are holding firm and keeping Lee about 150 to 200 miles north of the Northern Lesser Antilles, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico through the next 96 to 120 hours. I'm going to continue to monitor these models very closely as Lee has shown some tendencies to wobble to the west. So if Lee over the next 24 to 48 hours moves just 50 miles to the southwest of the current projected models, then we could be seeing more significant impacts in areas like St. Martin, the Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. I'm going to keep a very close eye on these models over the next several days. And then finally, looking at these intensity model guidance plots, over the next 72 hours, the majority of the models are taking Lee to a Category 4 hurricane and remaining a Category 4 hurricane through the next 144 hours or 6 days, with we see some of these members getting to a Category 5 hurricane. So regardless of where Lee moves, Lee's going to be a powerful hurricane, at least a Category 4, and I predict personally Lee will become a Category 5 due to the very favorable environment that Lee is in. And then closing off the video with the key messages for Tropical Storm Lee. Lee is forecast to become a major hurricane by late this week and could bring impacts to the Leeward Islands this weekend. While it is too soon to determine the location and magnitude of these possible impacts, interests in this area should monitor the progress of Lee and further updates to the forecast. So there you have it right there. National Hurricane Center is stating that if you live in the Northern Lesser Antilles, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, keep a close eye on Lee over the next several days, as any slight to significant shift to the southwest in the track could result in dramatic increase in impacts. Thanks for watching this morning's update on Tropical Storm Lee. Please stay safe and have a wonderful day, my friends.